Welcome to our weekly Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading from April 30th to May 4, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started, this is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here as usual. We'll take a look at the entire week and let's see what's going on. Holiday to start the week off here in Japan and China. We have PMI numbers coming out for China, so keep that in mind because they will have an impact on New Zealand and Australian dollars. They generally tend to. And for New Zealand here, we have a business confidence number coming up. It was negative the last time, so if it comes up negative again, that will be bad for New Zealand dollar. So we could see a drop in New Zealand US dollar there. And then we also have for Australia, we have a Reserve Bank of Australia, Governor Lau speaking. So the central banks are becoming more important. And what we want to pay attention to there are their comments in regards to the economy. So if they talk about any comments or they mention something that where it shows that they're not so confident about the economy, that will be negative for the currency. So Australian dollar could drop based on any such comments that can be taken as negative for the for the country there. So for the economy. So keep that in mind. And then coming up on, so not a whole lot of other stuff. There is some other data. Chicago PMI will be important here, but the important data here is the rate statement. So last week we had ECB, and we saw how based on the comments alone, so they didn't change anything, but based on the comments, we saw euro dollar drop a lot. So this is why monetary policy and central banks right now are becoming very important. So just keep that in mind, because if a Reserve Bank of Australia talks about or says anything negative about the economy or expresses concerns around geopolitical situation or around tariffs and things like that, that would be negative here. So negative for the it'll be negative for Australian dollar here. Sorry, just give me one moment here. Okay, so moving on here, and we have here European holiday on Tuesday, and then we have manufacturing PMI numbers for British pound here. So we saw negative data come out of UK. So last few numbers have been a little bit more to the negative side, which had negative impacts on, especially on Thursday there, we saw negative numbers for pound. For UK, and that had negative impact. So if we see more similar numbers where numbers are dropping, we could see further negative impact on British pound there. GDP numbers here for Canada are important, so keep that in mind. ISM manufacturing numbers are very important as well. Our PMI numbers, they are very important as well. And then we have Bank of Canada, Governor Pola speaking. He has spoken in the past as well, and I think everybody kind of knows where his stance is, where Bank of Canada stands. So if we get anything new added, that will have an impact. But otherwise, I think everything is priced in for Canadian dollar. New Zealand dollar employment numbers always have an impact. And then we have construction PMI numbers for British pound. Again, these PMI numbers, they're leading indicators for retail sales. So they do tend to have an impact when they come out. So now we're coming into a very important thing here. So we have ADP non-farm numbers. And then very, very important here, looking at, we have FOMC this week. So FOMC always, just like ECB had a big impact, FOMC generally tends to have big impact here as well. Again, the interest rate is not expected to change here. Generally, they do interest rate hikes when there is there's a conference scheduled, so there's no interest rate hike scheduled or market's not expecting here. But just like ECB, it will be the tone of the Fed statement that will drive the market. So I would suggest being very careful with this. Generally, it's a market moving activity here, news items, so be mindful of that. Trade balance numbers for Australia, again, will be very important because Australia is a big export economy. So trade balance numbers will be important. And then we have services PMI numbers, again, very important for British pound here because UK is a service-based economy. So if service numbers are not good, that will have a negative impact. And then again, trade balance numbers here for Canada. Canada, we have, there's NAFTA is getting renegotiated right now. And so there's a lot of trade uncertainty, which the Bank of Canada had mentioned as well. So if the trade balance numbers are negative here for Canada, that will have a negative impact on Canadian dollars, so dollar CAD, and any of the Canadian dollar crosses will be impacted by that. Just right now, trade is very important because of everything that's going on around it with tariffs and things like that. So we'll have to pay attention to this number. Non-manufacturing PMI numbers, again, for US, it will be important. We also have Swiss National Bank Chairman Jordan speaking. If you're trading the Swiss franc, you want to keep an eye on that. And then we have monetary policy statement for Australia. So we have a bunch of these central bank events. So be very mindful of that because generally they are market moving. They will have an impact on that particular currency. So here, Australian dollar will be impacted. And then on Friday, we have non-farm payroll. Again, it's usually is a market moving event. So if you're trading the US dollar on Friday here, just be mindful of that because it will move the market. So a bunch of important news coming out this week. So just be careful with all of those. Now let's move on to our charts here. We'll start off by taking a look at Euro US dollar weekly chart. So we have this, our little trend line to the downside. Last week we had a pin bar and we saw a drop based on that. We were looking for that drop, so we did get that. Now we are into this lower levels here. So price has dropped, and post ECB we saw a big drop. So let's see. So what can we expect here? Now we are into the support resistance level here. So that's why, and we did have pullbacks on a Friday there. Based on the weekly candle close here, this looks bearish. So I'm looking for price, but price could pull back. So do keep that in mind. So that's the kind of move I would expect, and then further down like that. So that's what I'm looking for. Biases to the downside based on the big, large weekly candle close, bearish candle close. However, because we have a large candle, do expect pullbacks and then further drop. So the biases to the downside for euro dollar. First target would be 120.50. Second would be 1950, 1.1950. So bottom of this candle here. So I will look for a pullback and then a further continuation to the downside. So bearish there. And then pound dropped a lot based on those numbers that we just talked about. With this one, this is bearish as well. We have a large bearish candle close here. So in this case, we could get rid of some of these lines. Okay, so last week we had talked about this double top. We had a bearish engulfing candle close on the weekly. So we were looking for a drop, and here is the drop. So now we have finally crossed this to the downside. We are coming into support right here. So that's something to keep in mind. If you take a look at the overall picture, for the last few months there, we have just been in this range. So we are in a range-bound market. We are at the bottom of the range now for the British pound. So what we need to see here is the biases to the downside, but I would be careful of this support at 1.3700 level, because what could happen is, being a range-bound market, we could just get one of these moves, and that's what we have to be mindful of. It could just bounce off of the bottom of the range. So for now, I am looking for price to drop. but with caution. So I'll just put that in there. The bias will be to the downside. Next target would be a 134.30 level, which is the bottom of this pin here. So that will be the bias. But I would be careful of the bottom of the range here, because if you don't see a breakout to the downside, this could go back up towards the middle of the range, just like it did here. So we had a nice weekly candle close, and then it pushed up all the way to the top of the range. Now we're at the bottom, and it could do the same. So that's the cautionary part, but based on the weekly close, looking for price to drop further. Aussie dollar here. Aussie dollar, we have seen a couple of weeks of, last week we were looking for a drop, so now we have that drop. We are almost into support right here, and then further would look for price to drop further here. So we do have weekly candle close to the downside, so it is bearish. But see, like with this one, we had a weekly close and then price pushed up. So we have seen this drop for several weeks now. So we could see price pulling up further. So we could get one of those and then a drop all the way into 7,500. And then if price breaks to the downside, then I would be looking for a further move to the downside. So Aussie dollar is bearish. But because we have had this big drop in all the dollar crosses, look for pullbacks now. And a good level for pullbacks would be 0.7650 level. So this is where we could see some good opportunity to trade. If it stays below this level, looking for a drop and further drop. Overall bias is to the downside for Aussie dollar. And then we have a New Zealand dollar here as well. So we saw a nice drop. Again, we had a bearish engulfing candle close previous week, and we were looking for a drop, which we got. So now that we have seen this big drop, same thing as I mentioned with Aussie here as well, we could see price pull back, kind of like that. So I would be looking at 0.7150 level, and then looking for price to drop further. Target here would be 69.50. And if price does continue lower, second target will be the base of this candle here, which is our support level here at 6,800, 0.6800. So those will be the two targets, but this is the target I'm looking for, 0.6950. So price to pull up and then break down into 69.50. So that's the target. Bias is to the downside. Dollar CAD has been interesting. It's been trading in this a little range for the last few days. And this is where we are. So overall candle close has been bullish, but we are into resistance here. So this is the level. So if we go down to the daily chart, this is where price has been stuck for the last several days. It hasn't been able to break this resistance level, which is a solid resistance level. So with this one, we have to be cautious, because if it doesn't break this resistance, then we could see the price come down. And at this point though, based on the weekly, I would say bullish, but I would be looking for price to turn here. So the big caveat here is if the price closes above 2,900, then I'm bullish and I'm looking for a move towards 130, 120 level, back into the highs here. But if the price does not break this, then we could get a head and shoulders type of formation, and I would be looking for this type of a move to the downside, and the target would be 1.2750 level as the first target. So this is very, very critical to see where the price goes to. A hold above 12900, then the target would be 130, 120. A hold below 12900, we're looking at 127.50 as the first target, and potentially into 125.20 level here to the downside. So this one we have to, because we are into heavy resistance, we have to play it based on what the market shows us. Euro pound here, this one was interesting because we saw the big drop based on first ECB, and then we saw a big push up based on our numbers from GDP, numbers from the pound. And now we have a bullish candle close here, bullish pin bar. Again, we are into some resistance here, but the bias is bullish. So I would be looking for price to go higher, and the target would be 0.8950 level to the upside. So looking for price to go back up again. Bias is bullish for euro pound. Pound CAD here. Okay, let's do pound CAD as well. Pound CAD looking bearish here. All right, so we have closed below this resistance level here, which is good. So bias is bearish, looking for 173.50 level back into the support level. So that is bearish. So nice and simple. Okay, so yeah, looking for price to drop further into 173.50 level. Bias is very bearish for pound CAD. Euro CAD here, we have a bearish candle close. I like this candle. It hasn't been able to break the high here. We were into resistance, but hasn't been able to break that. So first target would be a 1.5480 level. And below that, looking at 1.5350 level, or let's say 5380 level to the downside. So bias for Euro CAD is bearish and looking for it to drop further. Pound Aussie here, huge drop. Now we have this inefficient move, so it could get filled. So be mindful of that. But I do like the bearish candle here. So for a number of weeks, we haven't been able to break the high, which is really good because it provides an opportunity to potentially short this. And I like the bearish pin bar here. So this is a nice one. But again, because we have had a huge drop here, anytime we have such large moves, generally there are pullbacks. So just keep that in mind, which means the move that we are looking for would be something like this. It could go all the way to the top, but it may not, because it's challenged that level so many times. So I would look for a pullback into 1.82. Let's see. Let's go to the daily here. So this level here, 1.8292, so about 8,300 level. That could be a good level for a pullback. So see this pin right on the other side. That's the. So I'm going to leave this pullback level in here, so we could see one of these and then a further drop. Now, do keep in mind the candle closed right into support, which means a pullback is something to look for, so we could get that pullback. So bias is to the downside, and I'm looking for price to drop further. Target would be 1.8050 level, which is back into this important support and resistance level. So that is actually could come all the way into 1.800. So 180 is the target here, and bias is bearish, looking for a pullback and then a drop. Aussie here, I like, Euro Aussie, I like this one here as well. So what we have here is, so what we have here is a doji. It's a sort of a pin bar. Gravestone doji is what the technical term for this one is, but it is sort of a pin bar. So looking for price to drop. The main thing here we are seeing is rejection of the high. So price tested the high and then rejected it, so dropped further. I'm looking for price to go lower here as well. 1.5780 will be the target to the downside. So bias is bearish for that. Pound New Zealand here as well, bearish bias. We have seen a rejection of this level, so let me get rid of some of these. Okay, so this pin bar shows a rejection here, but there is bullishness here as well. So it could go back up and test this pin on this side and then drop from there. So bias is to the downside and looking for 1.9150 level here to the downside. So bearish bias for Pound New Zealand as well. But this is, because of that green, I would look for price to pull back up first and then drop. Euro New Zealand here, this one has more bullishness in it than the other one. So I will look for a retest of the high. So it could go all the way to the top here, and then we'll have to see how it plays out at the top here. But I'm looking for price to go and test the high and then potentially drop from there. But if it crosses to the other side, we still have that next high that it could target. So this one was bullish last week, so we got the move to the upside, but now we are into resistance, and there is this pin on top, which means we could see a rejection here. So I would look for some sort of a double top type of formation, see if it drops. Otherwise, if it breaks out, then we're looking for another move to the upside, and target would be 174.80 in that sense. So we'll have to just watch that resistance level. Let's go on to the yen crosses now. We had a big drop here in pound yen. So we're looking for, so we have a nice bearish pin bar. So last week we had railroad tracks reversal pattern. Now we have a pin bar. So this one I'm looking for price to drop further, and the target here would be 148.50 will be the first target, and then a 148.00 will be the second target to the downside. So pound yen weekly is bearish. Euro yen here looking for a drop as well with this one. So we had a nice, so we have in this one as well, we have that gravestone doji, which is again a little pin bar. And now with this one, we do have the support level right here. So biases to the downside, 130, 150 will be the first target. And if price continues lower, we're looking for 129.80 as the second target. But I do like the rejection on this and looking for it to drop. So euro yen is bearish. Now dollar yen here. Dollar yen is looking bullish here because US dollar has been quite bullish. As a result of that, dollar yen has moved up. So with this one, because it's a bullish candle close, I am looking for price to move further, and the target here, so let's just get rid of that one, 110.40 level or even 50 level. So back into this high will be the target to the upside here. Again, because we have had a nice big candle here, look for a bit of a pullback, just like this one, pullback, and then a further move to the upside. So dollar yen is looking bullish. Aussie yen here, this one didn't do a whole lot. It got stuck at this daily level here. See how price is just stuck here. So with this one, we'll have to see a drop. Bias still remains to the downside because previous candle is bearish, but this is completely neutral for this week. So we'll just have to see if it breaks below this 80 to 50 level or not. So looking at the daily chart is where we will be able to see if it holds to the downside or not. Overall bias still stays to the downside. However, it's not completely bearish till it breaks that level. CAD yen here hasn't really done a whole lot. We had a drop because it wasn't a fully engulfing candle. That's why there was still that bullishness, because this is still bullish. This week, it's bullish candle close, hasn't broken the high, so this is sideways at the moment. And because it's range bound, I'm looking for price to go up into 85.80 level. So looking at the daily, as we can see, it's been range bound within this. So we'll just have to take a look. We'll have to see which way this breaks. For it to turn bearish, we have to see a drop below 84.30 level here, and then a continuation to the downside. So this is sideways for now. Okay, gold. Let's take a look at gold, and we might as well cover oil while we are at it. Gold here. Gold here is looking bearish, and I will look for price to go back into the bottom here, 1304.25 level. So this is range bound for the last, let's see, how many months? 4 months. It's been range bound. So it hasn't been able to break the high. We have a monthly sort of a bearish looking candle here. So with this week, looking for price to drop into this 1304.25 level. And that's it. So it's basically range bound, looking for it to move towards the bottom of the range. Oil here. What's oil doing? Oil is neutral. So we have pins on both sides, neutral right now, so we'll have to see which way this one goes as well. And wherever oil goes, dollar CAD will be impacted as well. So we saw price go up here, and Canadian dollar benefited as a result of that. And now it's neutral, so this could go either way. So when we have a neutral candle close, it just means we just have to wait and see which way this one's going to go. And both of these options are available for 69.50 or 66.00 here. So both of these will be available. All right, so that's it for me. Any questions or comments or anything to add before we wrap it up? Just one more thing to mention. As I have mentioned previously, I'm doing a bit of a change in my service offerings and stuff. So I'm going to continue the Forex course or discontinue the Forex course that I offer. And I'll be sending out an email with, so this week, after this week, I'm going to revamp that course. So for this week, I will be dropping the price by $100, so you'll save about 25% on that, and before it gets discontinued. So if you want to take the course, it's a good time to purchase it. So I will be, so today it's not ready, but as of tomorrow, you'll have the link with $100 drop in price. So if you're interested, you can do that. Tom, I don't do any algo-based trading. It's just mine is purely manual. Okay, perfect. So that's it for now. If you guys want to join me, I'm doing a lot of back testing as well on the strategy. So if you want to join me, you can go to my Facebook page that I have. Let me just pull that up. The Facebook group, I have a free Facebook group that I have created. So I would suggest taking a look at that if you are interested in joining me for different, so I have 4 days a week. I do live back testing. So if you want to join me, please feel free to go to Trading Venus is the name of the Facebook group. All right, so that's it for now. You guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.